welcome to my talk. Translating is user-oriented and how it's done involving the community. Can you hear me? Great. Um, I will be talking about me, why I'm here, uh, why translating is useful, what the requirements are for the translation, and how it was implemented. About me, um, I was born in Germany. Actually, I was born in this city, in Mainz. I was raised bilingual. As you can see from my name, this is not originally German. It's Portuguese, so I was born in Germany, but grown with two languages. I'm working for Orange Business. That's an international telecommunications and IT company, and I have three roles. I'm in the IT support services, so I'm IT addict. I'm an agile coach, and I'm a member of the open source program office, but also in the group governance for the whole Orange Group. I entered the Good Governance Initiative, am the co-author of that document, and I'm organizing the translation. What is the Good Governance Initiative? It is a joint venture between OW2 and Eclipse, and that collects good governance for open source in organizations and puts that into a handbook. And I will tell you why it is useful to translate that. Why translating? It is a higher workload to translate something compared to just leave it in English. Nowadays, English is the lingua franca. Almost everybody talks it. Almost everybody understands it, but there are degrees of understanding. If you've grown with English, then everything is quite clear, communication is easy, but if you have to learn it afterwards, then it is usually prone to misunderstandings and perhaps not so fluent. Why do we have an advantage in translating? It is we literally match the reader's language. And that removes language barriers and creates less misunderstandings. Not talking about that a native English speaker misunderstands another native English speaker, that left alone. But if you talk the reader's language, it is still better for the understanding. It also removes blockers. You can easier convince management in organizations, in companies, and even more in public administration, where language is part of their genes. It's in their DNA. They are representing the company, the area, the region, the dialect, and so on. So that is might also become a blocker if that's not taken into account. And it's customer oriented. You're organized after the needs of your customers, talking their language, translating a handbook into their language. What are the requirements for a translation concept, a translation setup? A requirement is that you would like to have many languages to increase the reach and therefore increase the effectiveness. So what you've written is in English. That covers an amount of readers. If you translate it into more languages, the effectiveness is higher because the same work, or a bit more work, is useful for more people. We want to avoid a vendor lock-in. translation should be done manually and locally, as well as online in a continuous translation tool. Vendor lock-in secures the investment, and we can rely on open source tools. We also have a global footprint. If we do translate into different languages, obviously this is not local. Obviously, it is aimed at global footprint. And we are working on the handbook remotely anyway, so that is one of the requirements too. We have to support different source file types, and that's MD, Markdown. We have TeX, we have open document text, and we also have to translate a portable network graphic, a PNG, an image file. I will talk about that later because obviously an image is not the main target for translation, but we have to do that anyway. I will come back to that later, as I said. We also want automation to reduce the manual workload and to make the results reproducible, not only on the different computers of the people who are interested in the translation, but also to inject it into CI/CD systems such as Jenkins, which we did in the Good Governance Initiative. What is the situation we have? We have contributors from different countries, from different languages, from different sectors. So it's somehow overall there is less. There is almost no limitation on that. We are building a body of knowledge by collecting the best practices from organizations, and we do a collective OODA, so observe, orient, decide, act loop. We create a handbook that is based on Markdown files, so that's a human readable, easy to write, editor-friendly text format, and translate it into a nice-looking PDF with Pandoc, also an open source tool. How do we implement this? This is the big picture, literally, and I turn my back on you, not because I'm impolite, but I would like to point it with the laser. This image is separated in two different halves. The left-hand side is about the release process, and the right-hand side is when you need the translated files. It all starts at OW2 GitLab. We clone it onto a computer. We run the whatever 2PO scripts, so Markdown 2PO, tag 2PO, ODT images 2PO, and so on, specific scripts, which creates get text POT files. On top of that, we have images. I will explain that in an extra slide. We empty the images, we read the image, and we write a POT file for the image specifically. And that together is step number 2. In the POT file, we add translator notes for context. So do not translate this extra new line or whatever is part of that extra information. And we push that back into the GitLab. GitLab has a hook, a Git hook, so for Weblate. So it is pulled into Weblate. Weblate is a continuous translation, continuous localization even, website. And then when it is translated, it is pushed into the Git, into OW2 GitLab. And that is it for the left-hand side. Whenever you need a translated file, we start at the right-hand side. Starting at GitLab, we pull the translated files. We run the PO2, Markdown PO2, image PO2, whatever, again, and create the translated files. Later on, we combine that with pandoc to a PDF. That is the whole process. What we also do is we run a Jenkins system that constantly does the right-hand side to create PDFs in German, Portuguese, Italian, Chinese, Spanish. That's it. What is getText? getText is one of the GNU tools. So like CD, ls, make dear, you know, the GNU tools. So that's almost more than standardized. It's open source. There is conversion for many formats. So I can just run a command that extracts the strings out of an XML file into a POT file. As easy as that. Or ODT. That's possible. An open document text. It is human readable. As you can see I turn it again. On the right-hand side, this is a real copy-paste of the source code. This is the PO file, so it's not the POT file, but the PO file, because it's already translated. You have MSGID. This is the source text. And this is the translated German text for the cover page. So this is the title of the book. And we have the translator comments, which is the hash sign, number sign, dot, all 3 lines of the title. That appears in Weblate as a comment. This is what you should know about this string. And here you can find the URL to getText, the documentation. Next is Weblate. Weblate is a continuous localization website. It's open source itself, so the software that is run on hosted.weblate.com and on the LibreOffice translation. They have an own implementation of Weblate, an own instance. That is open source itself. It is free of charge for open source projects, so when you apply and it is accepted as open source, then it is free of charge and you can translate it into various languages. You will see how many languages it supports in the lower lines. It has very powerful search capabilities. To go back to the source code I just presented, it's find all the strings where the source is handbook and the target is not Handbuch, so the German translation. Yeah, so there you can see how powerful the search capabilities are. That's important for the review process because when you read the PDF, you have to find the source string or the translated string in Weblate to change it or to correct it. It supports PO files. It also supports many other formats, but we decided to go the step to migrate everything into PO files and then upload it. It supports Git. It has GitHub. It is able to get new source strings via a hook, and when translations were created, they will be pushed into the Git repository latest after a defined amount of hours, usually 24 hours. It has definitions. This is a copy and paste. It has definitions for about 650 languages perhaps also with all the dialects. Yeah, so there is German and German AT, like Austria, or PT as Portuguese, and PTBR as a Brazilian Portuguese. Uh, I suppose, I have not checked that, I suppose that is counted as each one of them. So counted 2 or 3 then. No user account needed. You can suggest translations. They are not accepted. They have to be accepted by a logged in user, but that can be done anonymously. And there are also translations per string management, like human and machine suggestions. There are comments per string. There are history per string, diff per string. Not per translation, not per language, but per string. So you can start a discussion on only one string. So it's really, really great. And please help translating. We just reached quite a coverage of languages, as you can see here on the screen. And if you would like to add your language, it's easy. You can just click a plus sign, select your language, and you can start translating your language. We organize this in bash scripts, and we follow the paradigm one tool for one job. In this case, it's one script for one job. We try to avoid artificial intelligence at the moment, at least. Because we would like to have reproducible solutions. There is artificial intelligence possible to be used for translation suggestions in WebLate. So the suggestion is usually an AI created translation. The advantages of bash scripts are that you can debug them easily. I mean, the one script that, for one job, the PO, blah, 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 2 PO, the several ones, and the PO2, blah, 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 can be run one by one. So you can see if it translates only the cover page correctly. You don't need to run the whole thing, and that makes debugging a lot easier. And that is also the effects limitation. We have 3 major types of scripts. We have the ones PO2, as I already mentioned. We have the opposite direction, transform the translation into a usable file. And we have the other scripts combining all that together that makes that creates a PDF in the end. We also have containerization. So you do not need to run a Debian-ish system to create your own PDF file. The requirements that we cover here are to avoid vendor lock-in, to support different source types, and to automate. How do we make pictures translatable? I'm turning around again. And that means we go and take the original image, that's the cover page, and remove the text. Step number 1 here, which is here. Manually write the POT file. Step number 2. That's easily done because it's human readable. We add comments for the translators here. It's a footer version, the date in the footer, all the 3 lines of the title. You remember that from the other slide. Then you find the text coordinates line height, so over here. So you have to find the coordinates over here, like that. It's so many pixels and so many pixels. Yeah, so the coordinate where to write the text later on, and then you hard code the source text into the PO script that creates the translated image. And that's it so far. Sounds like magic, but it's just more or less like a trick. Empty the file, create the PO file, hard code it in the text, and then run the get text command on the command line. Reviewing. Why do we need reviewing? We want a reliable content. If we just accept a translation, we could have rubbish inside. We could have insults inside, hidden ones. We could have wrong meaning, not correctly explained, bias, and so on. And to avoid that, we need a review process. And that means that for an official translation, we need a reviewer who's trusted by the Good Governance Initiative, and the translator must not be a reviewer. You cannot review what you just translated. That's impossible. It's possible, but the results are unexpected. I tried to review my own text and I overlooked a lot. I didn't mean to review it for the GGI, but I reread my own translation, okay, but the results were not so good. So let it somebody else do. The tool, there is a tool to make the reviewing easier, especially the re-reviewing. So the changes over a release from 1.1 to 1.2, that is based on diff, if it exists, on WL copy, which copies a URL into the clipboard, and is based on the comparison functionality of LibreOffice that makes it easier to identify what happened. And you can see here that there was an addition as a diff. So somebody wrote to the Good Governance Initiative handbook instead of colon, handbook. And that means that the German translation got in LibreOffice diff in the comparison to this change and to this change, which is easily identifiable for the reviewer. You do not have to read the whole 50 pages of the Good Governance Initiative handbook. So next is a coverage. There is a little glitch just to show you. Of course, English is supported, but United States is obviously untranslated. Okay, logically, you don't need to translate English to English, so that's a little excuse. But as you can see here, the blue is the current language coverage, and we are growing languages over time. Thank you very much.